When the Grenfell Tower fire struck, many expected that resources would be available in both dealing with the fire itself and the provisions on hand for those who had lost everything. Unfortunately, this tragic loss of life had been predicted by some of the deceased residents themselves. Many of the first responders were not people in uniform, but it was the Muslim residents themselves who were awake during the nights of Ramadan and alerted their neighbours about the impending inferno that was about to engulf their entire building. Charities and members of the public from all walks of life came to Grenfell whilst the tower was still ablaze and during the immediate aftermath. They provided food and donated whatever they could in order to relieve some of the suffering for those who were able to make it out alive. But all the goodwill shown could still not prevent the tragic loss of life, and the majority of the victims were from an ethnic minority Muslim background. According to Islamic funeral rites, the deceased should be buried within 24 hours. However, due to the severe nature of the fire, this just wasn't possible. For many families, burying their loved ones became extremely difficult, and although there were impromptu funeral prayers that were performed immediately after the tragedy, bodies were still yet to be identified, and you can imagine because of the ferocity of the fire itself, many were just unrecognisable. Full Islamic funeral rites were still to be performed several weeks after the fire, and when the coroner's confirmation for the causes of death were confirmed. For the majority, this simply was consistent with the effects of fire. Eden Care, a charity that's been providing end-of-life support for needy people, came to Grenfell during the immediate aftermath and, along with its partners, offered free burial support for all those affected by the fire. So far, the charity has supported 42 funerals for Grenfell. That's over half the official number of deceased identified by the Metropolitan Police. But due to the nature of the tragedy, the effort involved to coordinate the funerals had brought about many of its own unique challenges. Although the government has promised financial assistance for those who have been made homeless in the fire, burying the Grenfell deceased still requires a level of dedication and expertise that very few organisations have been able to offer. Thankfully, Eden Care, along with its partners, had been able to bury the Grenfell deceased without any financial burden for the remaining family members and friends. Unexpected deaths can happen at any time and at any place. No family should be worried about burying their own loved ones, especially in this most tragic of circumstances. How can a parent bury their own children? And how can an entire generation of family perish in one single night in this most prosperous of cities?
This is the worst thing I will remember in my life. I saw my uncle from the 17th floor. He opened the window and he kept shouting, "Please help us, get us out." And he was saying Allah's name and all this. And I kept looking at his helpless.
Not losing one member of my family, but losing all five, the whole entire family. I don't have my parents anymore, and you only get one set of parents in this world, and I had 3 siblings. They're all gone in the space of a couple of hours after leaving their house. They're all gone.
Eden Care will continue serving the needs of Grenfell, and the work of the charity extends beyond the tragedy itself. Some may say that charity is never a substitute for public welfare, but most Muslims in the UK take it upon themselves to deliver a portion of the wealth to those less fortunate. Until the government and local authorities decide to reduce burial costs for all, small charities like Eden Care will continue to meet the needs for some of the most disadvantaged people in our society.